Hi everyone, welcome to ST Skills. I'm Naga Erkoni, one of the organizers of System Design Weekly Series. So the format of System Design Weekly Saturdays, these sessions are like 1 week we have a deep dive sessions on system design concept. Another week we have a mock interview where like one of the folk will be signed as interviewer and another one will be as an interviewee, and all of us listen as a passive mode like till the mock interview is completed and note down the feedback and what is done good and what can be improved, that like we all learn from each other. And this week we have Dipti as an interviewer and Amrut as an interviewee. So with that, like let's get started with the mock interview. Amrut, like, do you want to share the screen, and Dippy will,
Sure.
yeah, ask you a
Yep.
question. Mhm.
Hi, Amrit. This is Deepi here. So we will be going over a design question today.
Okay.
Before that, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Amrit. I work at Hyderabad. So I am an SD1 at Amazon Hyderabad, and I joined in July 2019. I've been working with a team called Alexa Data Services, where we are building a routing platform for data labeling. Yeah, I mostly
Great.
work in backend. That's my experience.
Okay, great. And talking about design, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rate yourself in terms of designing system designs?
Um, I would rate myself around 4 to 5 because my collective experience is around a year and 2 months.
Okay,
So yeah.
sure. Sounds good. So, all right. So let's get started with the question here. I believe you have heard about this OTP service, right? Like one-time
R-
password.
Right.
Yeah. So what I want you to do is, let's say we want to design a service like that.
Mhm.
So how would you go about that?
Okay. Okay. So like one-time passwords is
Yeah.
the topic of discussion. All right.
Hmm.
Okay. Let me open a shared doc as well.
Okay.
We'll do collaborate. Mm, Let me just put that in the group. I've pinged you the doc, DP.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So OTP is the concern.
Since it's screen share, I think we are good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure. So, okay, let's actually go into detail about the requirements
Hmm.
and then go forward.
Yeah.
So basically, it's an SMS based OTP or is it an email based OTP? What is
Yeah,
the expectation?
right. So I would say it can be either, and the customer can specify how they want to receive the OTP.
Okay, the customer can specify. All right, that's fine. So this is a form of authentication or some consent giving in most cases, right?
Right. Just like you think, right? Like if I request an OTP, then I get a
Yeah,
code and then you verify that, right?
right. That is fine. And what is it fine if there is a minimal delay? What is the maximum delay that?
Yeah, so I want it to be pretty, like, given that it's OTP, I want like latency to be really small. So if the user requests for an OTP, somewhere like in milliseconds, that, uh, or for simplicity, let's say I just want um, 1 second, latency maximum.
Okay, taking maximum latency. Okay. So these are customizable OTPs, right?
Sorry,
Is the content customizable?
content as in,
So the OTP is like, do you just want to send a number or do you just want to send some message along with the number? Is that
no,
relevant?
it should be just a code. Well, so what do you think? What can we send more? If so, code is of course a core requirement, but what else do you think may be needed, or if it's needed? Like
Like the reason why I asked is if this service is used by multiple products, then
Sure.
they.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is, think of this as a microservice. So it is used by multiple groups. So yeah, you can that way add the sort of entity name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Entity. All right. Okay. Sure. So now, yeah, let's go to some estimation part. So what is the user base, or how many OTPs could be requested in a second or
Yeah.
in a minute or so?
Right. So I would say somewhere, let's start with, a fair decent number, like somewhere around 5 to 100 requests per second.
Okay, 5 to 100 requests per second. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. And since it's OTP, I'm assuming we'll require some sort of exponential time out or something. So if an OTP is
Yeah.
requested, then we might want
Right.
to delay it for some time, right?
Correct. Correct. So you talking about expiration, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah. So there would be, you can set an expiration time. Yes. Let's say 5 minutes or something. Amrit, there is a request to kind of, can you zoom the screen a bit?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Yeah, and
thanks.
Shashank, I think that there is an option for you as well if that zooming is not enough.
Is it better?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this looks
better.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
And I would say, just to make a point, like you talked about this multiple customers for this, like I said, microservice, right? So you
Right.
can think of it also as that each entity can also configure their own expiration time.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Got it. Okay. So basically it's 5 to 100 requests. We have an SMS or email. Okay. And then we have multiple customers, and there is a 1 second latency is what is expected. And it's a
Right.
microservice architecture.
Right. I mean, I'm saying microservice more because it can be used by multiple entities.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's get into some discussion on the interface, and then we'll go into the
Sure.
implementation and the design part. Okay. So from an interface perspective, let's say I have a service called OTP service. Now this service is supposed to generate an OTP. So what we'll do is we'll have an API called generate OTP, where it takes a request object,
Okay.
and the request object has fields like customer, which could be the entity name. So let's say SD Skills is sending the OTP for an invite or for an event, then the customer is SD Skills. Let's say we have a OTP message body, something like this. And this is some your OTP is etc. And we could have the expiration time. 5 minutes. We could use a general convention. We could use milliseconds to refer, like milliseconds
Sure.
or seconds to refer. So it could be 300 seconds for now. So okay, so we'll send this request, and now we'll have to see if this is enough to generate the actual OTP for the customer. Okay, one thing I want to ask is basically, let's say a customer is going to receive, like not a customer, individual is going to receive this OTP. Now,
Right.
if an individual like did not get, or if he is asking for a resend option, does that resend comes after 5 minutes, or is that resend always visible? It's just that we send the same OTP till 5 minutes and then change
Yeah.
it.
So you can think it doesn't have to, be out of the expiration window. So you can send it resend request anytime, and it depends on you how you are handling it. Like you can serve the same OTP, or like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, if the customer has this option of requesting OTP, let's say next second itself when he or she requested it, how would we handle that?
Yeah, that would actually increase the number of calls. Given
Correct.
that given that we have the expiration for 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
we could maybe configure something like an OTP after 30 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
another one after a minute, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that.
Sounds good to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will have some exponential
Yeah.
resend option.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. This is the core API generate OTP, and this should also have something like type of OTP, right? It could be SMS,
Right.
email, or both.
Sure.
So let's keep it SMS. Let's create both for now, SMS and email for now. And it also requires the phone number, or
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
phone number. If it's a
Depending
mobile
on the
number,
type. Yeah.
yeah, and it requires a email ID as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ABC HSE skills. I think this is how the request is going to look like. Yep. All right. Okay. So now let's say we have some 3 or 4 services that makes calls to this API. We need to make sure that this actually takes care of the input and sends the right message in the given time with the constraints. So
Mm-hmm.
let's discuss how we actually store this and how we take care of
Mm-hmm.
the implementation of the service. Okay, so yeah, let's get into the detail of this get generate OTP. So yeah, we need a database to keep track of this OTPs that we actually send,
Mm-hmm.
and to keep track of the expiration time.
Sure.
We don't have any relationships as such, so we could we could choose a NoSQL database since it's
Mm-hmm.
just a record. We could use a document database with something like a key value store.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so let's design what we need to see what should be the key for this, and then how do we identify unique OTPs.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have to take an assumption that a single phone number or a single email ID will only have a single OTP.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's going to be. So in that case, the OTP will be the key in the table will be either mobile or phone number of the end user.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also for the phone number of end user. We need to see what we can keep in the case of both.
So you're saying, so you're having a phone number, and then you're trying to keep the value as, what are you going to have value for
Value is the
this?
OTP that we generate. So
Okay.
the table, like the most minimal content that the table should have is the phone number.
Okay.
And the OTP, the actual OTP, and the TTL or the expiry.
So how would this handle the case that I might request an OTP for, let's say, from 2 different services, right? Let's say I request an OTP from SDE Skills with my phone number, and then I request an OTP from another, let's say my bank account with the phone number. So would this model work for that? Because I would have same phone number.
Okay, so that's why I asked for a unique phone number if we have a single OTP or not.
Well,
A
you
single.
would have a single phone number OTP. Depending on, so if you look at this context that I'm raising, then it won't be possible, right? But I thought that when you are asking, you are kind of asking about a single entity. So that way it won't work.
Right, makes sense, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So in that case, we'll have to keep the customer as well as an additional key. So that will look something like a sort key or a partition key, whatever we call that in the NoSQL domain. That should be able to uniquely identify a customer for an individual, for a single customer.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's keep the customer as well. Yep, these are the entities we're going to keep, and the key. Okay, yeah, the key is this plus the customer. All right. So now when a query comes, so when this sort of a request comes, we can actually see if that request was, if an already existing OTP is there for this customer, for this phone number and for this customer. If it's there, we can actually return it. If it's not, we'll have to either generate an OTP or use a pre-computed OTP and send it to the client.
Okay, and when you said if it's already there, you're kind of talking about resend case?
Yeah, there are two cases. One is a resend case and the other is a generation case. But from a client perspective, resend is, like, even after 5 minutes, a resend is valid. Since it's valid, we have to handle it. So if it's a resend within 5 minutes, we send the same key again.
Right.
Otherwise, we generate another key and send it back.
Sure. Okay.
So yeah. So for this table, the expiry time will act like a TTL. It's like a time to live.
Right.
So what will happen is after the specified time, this entry will be removed from the table.
Sure.
So that will make a recent after 5 minutes look like a new send request.
And you said, so when a request hits this service, you talked about the resend case where you can supply the same, OTP. And
Right.
then the other case you talked about is generating a new OTP, right?
Right.
All right. So yeah, let's move on. Yeah, with this.
Right. I'm seeing some lines. Yeah. Okay. Like going forward, we'll have like an important component of this is generating the OTP. So let's decide on how that works. So for now, can we assume a 6-digit OTP suffices?
Yeah. So let's assume a 6-digit OTP, and yeah.
Okay. Sure. Right. So yeah, we'll go for a 6-digit OTP. And we have a generation scenario. So one possible way is to, like, the simplest possible way to generate a 6-digit number is to generate a random number between all zeros, not all zeros probably, all ones and all nines.
Sure.
But that could probably lead to more collisions. Yes. So what we want to do, so as far as the service is concerned, we want to allow authentication as well. So that is the second API that we require here, right?
And you're thinking of authentication. Can you elaborate on that?
So basically, a client enters an OTP. So he gets a message, we deliver the message. So
the verification.
Right. Should we house the responsibility of the verification, or is it some other service that's going
Sure.
to take care of it?
Sounds good.
And
I would say that your part about generating OTP, like that random number thing that we are getting to. So let's kind of, for now, park that discussion. Let's say we, by some way, we have an algorithm, right?
Okay.
And we can come back to it. But for now, let's say I have an algorithm which gives me a 6-digit OTP.
Okay.
right? So
Right.
I want to kind of, given the time, I want to focus on the other aspects of the, this design phase. So you talked about this authentication, right? Um,
Yep. The verification of the OTP actually.
right. So that you are saying you'll design it as a component, or that's where you were going, right?
Yes. So I was asking if we host it in the same component, like the generation part and the verification part, we take care of both.
Yes, we have to. These are the two core requirements. So you talked about generation, and
Right.
then yes, we do want to, verification would be the next one.
Right. All right. So now let's go to the verification part. Verify OTP. That will also take a
Mm-hmm.
request, and that request will look like. Yeah. So that requires a customer name because we want to know which service. So a phone number and a customer, or an email and a customer uniquely identifies
Mm-hmm.
an individual OTP. So we
Right.
need the customer name as well as the phone number if you know.
Right.
And it's the actual OTP that he's sending.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
sure. Yeah. So assume that we send a valid OTP to the client and he's
Mm-hmm.
requesting an OTP within the 5 minutes or like any window.
Right.
What we can do is we can query for this entry for this
Mm-hmm.
user in this table, in the same table,
Sure.
and then check if that entry is present. If that
Yeah.
entry is if that entry is already evicted, if it's the 5 minutes passed again,
Mm-hmm.
then we'll have to send a response saying this OTP is not valid anymore, it expired, and let us the client to send another request to get an OTP.
Right. Yeah. So this, this makes sense. So now, given these components, right? Let me ask you. So you talked about this generation component verification. Do you see how would you think about like scalability aspect, or like in general with this design? You talked about a single OTP service, right? So
Right.
how would you think about, let's say, do you see performance or any bottlenecks? So this looks good to me, as a single instance. Like, what are your ideas around, given that it's going to be served by multiple, it's going to be a microservice for multiple entities,
Right.
right? So what do you think can be, how would you, augment this to support, let's say, scalability or any other issues that you might see here?
Yeah, got it. So yes, so there are so the concerns would be how to solve this problem in a distributed environment.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to make sure that the calls to generate OTP,
Mm-hmm.
even if it goes to one of the, let's say we have n hosts or n
Mm-hmm.
instances of the services. If it goes to either one of those, we want to make sure that the OTP is actually sent.
Mm-hmm.
And when a verification happens, the client is actually able to verify even if the data is distributed, right?
Right.
Right. So let's say we do horizontal scaling on this, and we have multiple instances of our OTP service.
Mm-hmm.
The concern would be the writes to the database and the reads from the database.
Sure.
So if a particular instance does a write, then we should make sure that the read also happens correctly. So one solution would be to use a database that's uh, like like we need to see what is the important requirement, if it's consistency or if it's availability.
Mm-hmm.
So from this, given that the latency for a second is allowed
Mm-hmm.
and the service has to be available because a lot of it has to be highly available because there'll be a lot of clients who make call to this.
Right.
So we'll design for high availability.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, we'll use a database that supports high availability or design one.
And how would you consider, like, how would you take care of consistency in that case?
The consistency has to be eventual in that
Mm-hmm.
case. So let's say I choose a database
Mm-hmm.
and let's say there are some master nodes and there are some replicas.
Sure.
In that case, we'll have to make sure that the writes to the masters happen and the replicas are eventually consistent.
So
That's
yeah,
one.
so let's talk about that. That's a good thought there. So you said you talked about eventual consistency. So let's say a client requests an OTP, it gets generated at a particular instance, and when I make a verification request, I hit another server which has not yet been in sync, right?
Right.
So in this scenario, what do you think would happen?
Yeah. So in this scenario, we want to make sure that the read actually happens. So, okay, like, can you come again on the scenario? I have a...
Yeah, so I was saying that you talked about this high availability and eventual consistency, right?
Right.
So by that perspective, so if a write goes to, if I request for an OTP and it is generated from a certain, let's say instance 1 of the service, right?
Okay.
And it gets stored in your this key value store, right? Now, when I make a read request, right, and it lands in another instance, right, and which is yet not in sync with the instance which actually did the generation part. And here you talked about eventual consistency. So I'm saying that won't it be an issue because I might get that OTP is not valid?
Yes, correct. So it might so happen that the entry is not yet populated in this replica.
Right.
So yes. So let's discuss on how to solve that particular problem.
Amrit, just give me 1 second. I think my headphones are an issue, so I might disconnect for a second, but just a heads up.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, so let's continue. So what do you think? Like, I don't, that won't be a good experience, right? That's one scenario that if I request an OTP and I punch in the right one and I get an invalid.
Right. So another way could be, and the way I'm thinking could be that the read could also be from the master. And the replicas are just, and the replicas could be a fail-safe mechanism. If let's say the master goes down, then the master could be taken over by one of the replicas. But again, the problem is that in between an eventual, like in between a write, if the master goes down, a similar problem arises there as well.
Right. And of course, there would also be, the scalability issues, even if you pick one node, both for writes and reads, right?
Right, correct. That is also possible.
Yeah. So, all right, that's fine. So let's kind of continue with this scenario where there are ways to deal with that, but we can talk about that later. So let's say you are dealing with this, continue with this, your design for now, that you have these multiple instances of the service. And my question next is, so you have multiple OTP services. What about your database? Is it like one centralized, like where would this database reside?
That is a question we can take based on volume.
Okay.
So the initial requirement you said is there is only 100 requests per second. So 100 requests per second, and let's say 100 requests came in the first second. There would be that many records for the next 300 seconds. This record will be there for the next 300 seconds.
Yeah.
So at one particular point, the maximum number of records that can be in the DB is 300 into 100. Because at the last second, at the, like, let's say your service is starting now, the first second goes, the second goes, etc. You are at the 300th second. At this point, if like all the 100 requests came, yeah, the maximum possibility is 30,000. 300, 30,000 records. So this could be easily kept in a centralized database. This is not like this does
Yes,
not have a
sure. So from the storage perspective, agree. But do you see another reason where another scenario where centralized database can be a problem?
are you talking in terms of the scalability, or are you just talking in terms of the data
No,
in
so
one
you
place?
covered the scalability, kind of you touched upon this storage footprint, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense that you're not having within a certain time, you're not having that many records. And that makes sense. I'm asking that uh, what are the other things where the centralized model, can you think of other pros and cons of this centralized model? You covered one where it shows that centralized model is not that bad.
The centralized model is?
So you covered the scenario which shows that centralized model, database model can handle us like having a single thing is good. But I'm asking that what if that centralized database goes down?
Got it. So again, the problem is like again the question is if it's like let's say we have solved the problem in a scalable perspective such that we have different replicas or something. So let's take an example. Let's say I have something like a DynamoDB that stores these records, right? Now what happens is that will internally have separate nodes and it does replication and stuff. Okay.
Okay, so you're
So
assuming you have a distributed setup.
so in that case, a centralized database having 30,000 records is good to go, but that is with the assumption that the scalable problem is solved.
Okay. Uh, so you are kind of saying that pick up a solution which kind of inherently supports, this data partitioning or, distributed scenario.
Right. So a right choice of a distributed database is what we need is, I was thinking.
That's fine. I am not so particular about which particular database like Dynamo or something else, but I was more curious about how would you address, like, what are the challenges that you see having multiple OTP services and in your design, you are having another layer where you're keeping this distributed or centralized database.
Right.
So, okay, that is fine. Um, how would you can you think of some ways? So let's say I request an OTP, right? And let's say it's through STE skills, and you generate an OTP and give it back to me. Now,
Okay.
And you verify it, it's verified, it's good. And then what happens? And so that is one scenario, right? It's verified. Then what happens on your database side and all of that? And then if I make another request, right? How would that go? Considering this, workflow I explained just now.
Okay. So another OTP in the sense you're saying another user requested the same,
Yeah,
another user again requested the OTP.
yeah,
So that will lead to another OTP generation event.
okay.
He'll get another OTP as well.
Right, but can you think of, yeah, so that would be a brute force idea, right? Like generate another OTP. But can you think of some ways where we can expedite that? Let's say you generated an OTP 12345 6 in the
Okay.
first time, and it's validated. And first of all, let's break it down. What happens when it's validated?
Okay, so in my idea, after a validation, I was actually planning to remove that record with a success response,
Right.
saying that, yeah,
Going to just delete this from here.
yeah.
That is one idea, sure. Uh, Moving along, let's say I can, do you think you can reuse that OTP in
Okay,
some way?
okay, so okay. So now we are concerned about the generation and the
Right.
reducing stuff of OTP. Okay, so basically, like, generation of OTPs again, we can actually do that online, or we could even do that offline. So, so let's say I compute some OTPs and keep a unique set of OTPs that I have somewhere. Let's say I have something like that. Then what I'll do is I'll actually pick an OTP from there, and let's say now that is another table or something like a cache or something that I'm keeping. If I keep an OTP like this, it'll look like OTP and OTP1, whatever is its state. Right? The state will look something like picked, right?
Okay.
So the reason why it's picked and it's not immediately deleted is because we don't want the same OTP to be generated again and picked up by some other person.
So you were talking about some lag.
I'm talking about?
Some lag between, not to reuse the same OTP. Right?
Correct. So once an OTP from this pool is picked, then this is actually removed after 5 minutes automatically if the client doesn't do a verification, or along with the verification, this record gets deleted from this pool as well. So this is like OTP pool, something like that. Yeah.
Sure.
So in that case, requesting a new OTP can be like an order of an operation because we already have it.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Sounds good. So moving on. So what about multiple clients requesting an OTP, sending request at the same time? How would that flow be handled?
So you're saying for 100 requests per second, we should have.
Right. Yeah. So this concurrency aspect, you talked about, a single request coming in and getting into database, and all of that makes sense. Now, what other issues do you see when, there are concurrent requests coming in?
Okay, got it. So basically now we want to solve the concurrency. And now let's say I get 10 requests, or let's say I got 10 requests at the same time. Like I'm assuming the same request won't come 10 times for the same user or the same client, right?
Yeah, let's first take the case of 10 different requests.
Okay, and different requests. So now the challenge would be to pick the OTP from the pool, so that two people don't read the same OTP. Right?
Right. So how would you ensure that?
So the first one, the first method is like pessimistic concurrency control. It's using a read lock.
Okay.
So when I read an OTP from the OTP pool, I lock that record until I change the state. So the query on OTP pool will look like pick OTP with state as new.
Sure.
So now when I get a record, I use sort of a lock and then not let the next read pick the same record, but that will actually incur some delay. So yeah, that's the consequence of using a lock.
What other problem can you think of another problem that can happen in this scenario? So you acquire a lock. What other can you think of some other issues with the locking mechanisms? You talked about delay, which makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so one is delay, and let's also think about failures, right? Now for request that actually changes the state, and then it fails.
Okay, yeah. What happens?
So in that case, we actually want to set the state of this back, or we could even say let it get expired after 5 minutes. Even that works fine.
Right.
Because given that we have 100 requests per second, and let's say I generate more than 30,000 OTPs. in the background, then I can afford losing an OTP. as such.
Right. Basically, yeah, you don't want the lock to be, infinite time and hold the resource. So,
Right.
okay.
Got it. Yep. So now so what else is a mechanism to handle concurrency at this stage, if not a lock?
Right.
I'm not sure if versioning will help you.
Let's kind of, so let's keep going with this idea. So first of all, where would your, so I don't know if you can draw here, but we had this multiple OTP instances, right? Let's have,
Okay.
you have 3 instances.
Okay.
And you had a sort of a distributed database setup, right?
Okay.
So you talked about that. Now I'm curious, where is your this service like OTP pool residing?
All right. Sure. So let's talk about that. So let's assume OTP service is one microservice. And now let's say I have another service which is called key generation service or something. Yeah, something like a generator service. So what this generator service will do is it will actually pre-compute OTPs and put it in a pool, and we can discuss on how that pool would look like. Yeah. So let's assume that is some sort of a cache, or like a persistent cache, or some sort of another table again, another NoSQL table again. So what this will do is maybe we can set up a cron job and then make sure we compute this and then insert it into the cache or table.
Right, but my question was more towards, so you have an OTP pool database, NoSQL database, like where exactly will it be? It will be residing in, along with your centralized database, or where exactly will it be a different node? Where do you think it should be placed?
So what I'm thinking is after generation, it could be sort of a distributed cache where a copy is part of a service.
Okay, okay.
So what I was actually thinking is have a database with OTP pool. Let this service write into this database.
Right.
Yep. And then what happens is we actually cache this information in our entities, like in our actual OTP service.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So here we'll have a cache with OTP pool, and we'll actually fetch that OTP pool, like OTP from the cache.
Got it, got it. That way it won't even hit the generator service.
Right.
Sure. All right. Let's keep it up on time. I think we have just a few more minutes. So we talked about components, the database stuff. Now I think the point where we are, let me nudge you a little bit into another requirement, which we can put on top of yours.
Okay.
So let's say with this design, you want to kind of extend your design to, your service is getting popular and you're going to monetize it even more, right? So say you have 3 clients, SD skills, some local app you have, or let's say, I don't know, some bank.
Okay.
And each of them have a certain, have a set of subscriptions, right? So let's say SD Skills is paying for 1K OTP requests per month.
Okay, got it.
Right? And another service is configured for a higher rate.
Got it. Basically, yes, you want to make sure that this is the rate limiting sort of thing is done
right
for the overall count of OTPs.
Right. Like if you get OTP requests from SD Skills, which crosses this 1K boundary, then you can't honor that. Right?
Got it. So this is identical to a throttling scenario. It's in fact a throttling scenario.
Mhm.
So in that case, we'll have to, have an entity of customer.
Mhm.
Yeah. So let's assume we have a customer entity, and in that customer entity, we have the customer name. And the number of OTPs is allowed in a month, right?
Mhm.
OTPs allowed, or basically subscription. We can put it
Yeah,
subscription,
that's fine.
and we will need the subscription date as well.
Mhm.
Let's say we have this information. We'll have to do some bookkeeping to make sure that this is actually updated.
Right.
So let's say I keep, I need to keep another entity, and I'm just thinking for a more logical name. Subscription. I keep something like current subscription status.
Yeah. I see
That,
you are thinking of like, when this needs to be updated and all of that. But
yeah,
kind of simplify that, let me simplify this for you a little bit. Let's say you're dealing with, as of now, we want to deal with scenario where just, don't worry about that it's expired subscription and you want to renew or something. Just think about you have a limit and how
okay.
would you augment your design to, yeah.
Okay, just a limit for a
I'm
customer, right?
right, for an entity or a customer.
Right. So what we could actually do is we could keep, like we could keep the count of the number of requests that we actually send.
Uh-huh.
But I'm thinking if we should do that check before sending the OTP itself, because that will be the right way.
Mhm.
I was just thinking if we should do that at the creation time or at the verification time, saying you can't get more verifications or something. But
Well,
it's better to not send. It's
why
better to
don't you
send.
do it at verification time, right? Because you don't even want to generate an OTP. You don't
Correct.
want, because that is also incurring a resource like expense, right? So you
Correct.
don't even want to honor creation, generate OTP request if it exceeds the limit,
Right.
right?
So, yep. In that case, before going to generate an OTP, we could directly see the number of OTPs that's already generated for this customer, right?
And how would you get that number about how many, since your OTP you talked about distributed, right? How
Right.
that number about total requests seen so far? Like where did you uh, have that logic?
Got it. So, at a time, basically, I see two challenges here. One is if we have if we have our own database and stuff. In that case, we'll have to actually uh, call the instances and then actually sum it up to see the number of OTPs that we send. If we are actually keeping a count of the number of OTPs sent from a particular machine or particular instance.
Okay, so at instance level, you are maintaining count.
But that is doable, but that will be sort of a caching idea. But other than that, we could even try a centralized method.
Okay, so how would your, let's say you have 3 OTP services, right? And can we quickly walk through, just one simple scenario about this aggregation concept?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So let's assume we have
So you have
OTP.
3 OTPs here, yeah.
Right. This is one service. This is another one,
Mhm.
and this is another one. So basically, now let's say my customer is sending a request to OTP 2.
Sure.
OTP 1 has already incremented some counts and has track of the number of messages sent.
How is OTP2 getting request and OTP1 is tracking?
No. I'm saying like each of them is tracking the number of OTPs that it sent for a particular
Okay,
customer.
okay,
So OTP 1 has it, OTP 2 has it, OTP 3 has it.
okay,
Now let's say my load balancer or something sends the request to OTP 2.
sure.
So now OTP2 has to see the values from here
Correct.
and the values from here.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it will have to do some sort of calling to get that data, but a better way to do that would be to keep it in a table or something that they can commonly, all of these can update, so
Right.
that there is a single point to query and then allow or disallow.
Okay. Okay. And yeah, there can be other challenges here, like if one OTP service is down, how to get
Right.
count from there. But I think we are kind of running short of time, so I think we are good with this. These scenarios that we covered so far. Do you have any final things you want to add on?
Add as in to the design.
I mean,
or-
add, not add as in like, kind of anything that you want to kind of reiterate or in your design, just giving you in general. Anything to talk about, but I mean, nothing specific I have in mind, but just giving you some time there.
Yes, I think we didn't discuss about this exponential descent, but I think this is something the client should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is good. Thanks, Amrit.
Yeah, thanks, Didi.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Amrit, and thank you, Dippy. I think
Yeah.
you did a wonderful job. So, yeah, Amrit, you can keep the screen share on, like so that we'll let audience provide any feedback. Just note that it's all any feedback is just constructive. So
Yeah.
yeah, open to the audience. Like if any of you have noticed any quick feedback.
Yeah, I would like to share.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Hitesh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good design, and the way Amrut you captured, the requirements and interface and all that, it's very beautiful, and nice, nicely driven. One big feedback I have on this piece is OTP is nothing just like a password, right? Dealing
Right.
with these passwords directly in the service, it creates a loophole in terms of security. And we did not touch base here, like, how this service or any dev here, whoever has a read access to the Vue production database or so, how can we avoid, that nobody can read the OTP? An OTP is something which is a password which can easily be exploited by in the company, the devs and all that. They have the phone number, they have the emails and all those. If OTP is read, it creates a security loophole. How we could have avoided using a number such that it is not even available, it is not stored directly in the system itself.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
And the second thing is when you're discussing about the databases, right, we chose MySQL. So it's a relational database, right?
I chose NoSQL.
Sorry, NoSQL. It's a relational database, right?
No,
it's NoSQL, right? Key value store. We choose a NoSQL.
Yeah. So using that, when you choose a database, right, that, the question that DP asked, right, how will you distribute and all those things come into play, right? When each and everything, your OTP, it's the key is, there is no relation between separate keys, right? When an OTP is generated for a given customer or a given property or so, when you choose a database, it has an IOPS concern and all that, right? You could even keep n number of maybe a blob storage or somewhere where, you don't need to query as such.
Okay.
Right? You can store it anywhere, wherever you want, in the cloud or in somewhere, or in n number of databases here, there, which can be replicated and all. That piece, that was my feedback on this using the database.
Yeah, so I was actually suggesting DynamoDB that's in the cloud and that actually takes care of the concerns we were talking about.
Yeah, and that's where I thought that his choice of, let's say if he's picking overall, we started with key value store. since it's need just like you said, Hitesh, like minimal information, right? It's not like
Yeah.
relationships or anything. So it can be easily, the information can be fetched. But yeah,
Yeah.
Uber totally makes sense. I mean, I didn't even touch on security. That was more of a question kind of in my bucket. I didn't even added that as a requirement.
Yeah, and another point I have is when there is a limit. I think that's a beautiful question, right? The last one that you asked, monetization of it's a
Yeah.
nice addition to the existing design.
Mhm.
Now, in this case, the requirement was that you don't want to serve the customer or the client at all when the 1,000 is achieved,
Exactly.
right? There you need a centralized DB.
Yeah.
Right.
When you
We
will
talked about
expand,
that. Yeah.
when you expand, so you want every node to know how many requests have been served,
Right.
right? So you need a DB that can fail over in disaster scenario and all
Yes.
that, right? Can keep us thing. So there you need it instead of reading from every node or so. You keep
Mhm.
it. It definitely incur cost. What you can do is probably when you are generating an OTP, at the end of it, in an async operation, you can increment. You can keep a
Exactly.
customer and month some table. In a relational database or so, or in
Mhm.
somewhere. You can keep that
Right.
information, but that information need to be centralized, but copy or replicated or geo-replicated also here and there so that you can read it. But
Right.
that
Yep.
need one copy, one master, or
Yes.
one primary which can be failed over.
Yeah. Yeah. And Amrit did kind of, I just brought this point at the last moment, kind of. So, yeah, I didn't give him enough time, but I think we were on that track. Like he talked about centralized DB. But yeah, that totally makes sense, Hitesh, these are interesting
Yep.
concepts.
Thank you. That was all. But
Yeah.
you did a good job, Amrit. I must say you did a good job here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hitesh.
Anyone else? Naga, what do you think?
I mean, like overall, like I think Amrit did a good job, like in capturing the requirements and like defining the APIs and let's respond. Like I think his flow was good, but like maybe what I expected is like maybe after the discussing the APIs, at least some high level block diagram to visualize have felt uh, better. I mean, like of the interviewer. So I mean, like diagram is. I mean, like he is discussing everything, like viewpoint, like but picture can bring up to speed very quickly, right? Like the
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's more like you're right. I mean, that's also depends on the preference. Like,
yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
that how he's going, but I was pretty comfortable with his explanations.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what like I like, but like yeah, he could have used pictures to yeah.
Mhm.
Like,
Right.
Uh, I had one question. I mean, not a feedback, but so when you say that there are 10 clients requesting the OTP,
Mhm.
and you have this pool, centralized pool, and then
Mhm.
is there a scenario that one OTP is captured by multiple client? I mean, I know you are going to
Yeah.
lock it, but
Mhm.
there is some time. What if all the requests are coming at the same milliseconds and they get the
Right.
same OTP?
Right. So I'll let first Amrit respond, and then if I have something different, I'll add. But Amrit, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So in my understanding, like only one write is going to happen in that case as well. So if multiple clients come and lock that, like a particular record has to write into it. So in that scenario, either all the clients fail, or we just want to make sure that one client succeeds and the other ones fail, right?
Yeah. So I don't know who was talking.
so what was the question? I didn't get it.
So
Like
the question was about this concurrent request, right? Multiple
mm,
clients, like we covered that kind of partly in the
mm,
interview. So if multiple clients, there are multiple OTP requests happening concurrently, then
mhm.
how would we ensure that the same OTP code sort of,
Mhm.
about OTP pool. The question was, how do we make sure that the same code is not kind of, uh, sort of sent to or reserved for multiple clients, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, Amrit talked about the locking issue, and he's talking about, still there, the server level, there would be sort of, even if it happens concurrently from user's perspective, but at the server, there would still be a sort of a sequence there. Just to add to that, I would say this kind of alludes to the point of, this common scenario of handing concurrent writes to the server in distributed systems. And there are multiple approaches to deal with it, and there are actually multiple scenarios that you have to take care of. There is a common thing that like locking is one way, or the other thing is, there are algorithms like last write, wins, and there are, multiple, several of them. So that's what, in fact, we are capturing in our book club discussion these days. There are, this concept of version vectors, and there are a lot of standard approaches to handle that. So I think unless as an interviewer, I really want to, make the candidate go into some concurrency algorithms. So that's where I steered him away from it just after an overview. But yeah, that's a kind of a, topic in itself to deal with concurrent rights.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dippy. Thank you, Samrit.
So the Amrit answers was like using the row lock, right? Like to avoid
Yeah, he in general, he talked about locking,
locking.
and
Okay.
like the fact that he talked about, issue about latency, stuff like that. But yeah. Any other things anyone wants to add, or otherwise maybe I can share some of the things that I found, interesting. All right, so let me kind of, jump in. And so overall, I kind of really liked the flow, how Amrit, proceeded, broke it down, the problems. It was kind of pretty good structure. And even in the requirements itself, he was able to pick up the idea of, having multiple customers. And one thing that I really liked is not to focus, like he was asking about, he was clarifying requirements even as he was going, right? So it's not like that you don't have to put things in your mind, like requirement phase is the first one, and that's the only time when I have to clear everything out. Things can evolve as you're going in your design. So there were one or two areas where during our discussion, he, kind of asked more questions. And to me, that was pretty natural. Now, just to mention here, I'm giving this feedback more from, if I was an interviewer, I think there are more folks in the group here who have actually taken interviews. So you guys would have more, real world idea about how this, an interview is assessed. So, but this is more of my personal opinion. The other thing that I liked in his design is how he was thinking from the early on. He was thinking of this, breaking down, like defining components of different, sub-services and stuff. So that showed kind of, clarity to me. And some areas I felt that I don't know if it was more of me giving hints quite often, or was it something I should look from the interviewer side, that I felt at some points I had to kind of probe him on, okay, what about this scenario and what about that scenario? But again, I would take it with a grain of salt, because and this is more of a question to all of you here, is this something I could have done in a little different way? Did you first of all notice that, I was giving him maybe probing in certain directions, or what are your take on that?
Yeah, I can say something here.
Sure.
Yeah, you were giving him a good inputs in between. There was a time in between where, which I felt might not be other people who have felt, where it felt to me like you were trying or struggling to get more questions for him. And the way he was going, and I think Naga gave a pretty good feedback. Maybe I and other people are kind of used to, when we interview somebody, seeing kind of block diagrams than just more or less a text. And Amrut actually captured pretty well in the text component here.
Yeah.
But I have been used to, I'm taking interviews, and I'm a kind of used to see the block diagrams also. That's where the things were, and you were trying to probe him more into, taking it into a scale mode, a distribute mode, and probably Amrut was kind of stuck out there. That what is the initial requirement given 5 to 100, maybe. At that point, you could say that that's a scale out. We have got more customers. We need to make the system better, and how will you do it? So I believe that discussion did not go in that place where some where Amrit could say that we'll have these many distributed data centers or across the globe or so.
But this is one thing that I intentionally did actually, because I didn't want him to think of distributed system requirement only from scalability point of view. You can also think from fault tolerant perspective, right? If you have, even if I have a very small scale, I'm only serving, let's say, 10 requests per minute, which is a really small number. I can still vote for a distributed design because I don't want a single point of failure. So scalability is not a problem here, right? It's a problem of I don't want my service to fail if I'm talking about high availability.
Yeah, if your service is, if you don't want your service to be failed, it has to be at least present in 2 data centers.
Exactly. So that's where I mean to say, you are right that one way I could have nudged him towards, distributed design was to say, okay, what if the service scales out? But my rationale for not doing that intentionally was because that would be a very clear hint, okay, add more nodes and stuff. I wanted to also see what you think about distributed design apart from scalability, right? That was my thought in, that is what I had in my mind. But I kind of see your point about how to steer, a candidate into a certain direction.
And I saw like when he was kind of writing the block diagrams, maybe that's my opinion, Amrut. You might be wrong here. Maybe I felt like you were struggling a bit on creating the diagrams where you can see the request flow and all that. And I think that's where probably it can be improved.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I agree. The whiteboarding part wasn't there wasn't enough whiteboarding, and yeah, I get that.
It's also like the when we take interviews also, we want to picturize the way things are going to flow. That's how. And so that pictorial part was a little bit missing here. I think Naga pointed out as the first feedback here that pictorial part was a kind of missing. But that's fine. I mean, as long as an interviewee and interviewer are perfectly aligned with the approach or they understand each other, that's fine.
Thanks, Hitesh.
I would like to add some feedback.
Yeah, sure.
So first of all, Deepi and Amrit, good job. You covered a pretty decent topic today, and I felt like I was with you guys from the starting till end. I couldn't feel like I got lost, or it was like as an audience, it was a good experience for me. That means like you guys both are good in sync, and you gave a really good impression, and as an audience I can feel like, okay, you guys did a good job. And in terms of I see like there's a feedback we could have used whiteboard. Yeah, personally, if I would be doing, I would directly jump to whiteboard, but again, if you guys are in sync, that is fine. Because I have seen these days, one of my friend was telling that, hey, he got a telephonic interview, and in telephonic, no whiteboard, nothing, just a verbal system design interview. It could also possible. So in our mental model, we should be ready to talk if we don't have any visualization. But if we have if I have offered to visualize, I would start using visualize. And this is Amrit, how it helps. It will help you to shape your thoughts. So sometimes when we write, then we can see, oh, I could have missed this scenario, I could have missed that scenario. So that kind of mental model, it will help to generate when we are putting some blocks here and there. And I would suggest like uh, have something like OneNote, where you can have both capabilities of having writing in like a text, and then you can even draw next to it, and then you can even use different colors really in a really finding at the top. If I have to do, I will use OneNote because I don't like writing requirements free text, so I can use OneNote and put all the requirements and then start drawing next to it. And as quick I am going on high level diagram, it will help me. It could be like interviews, fine talking, like, but it will help me to streamline my thoughts, like, oh, which side direction I go. And then I can put different components and say like, oh, this is separation of concern, this component doing this job, this component doing this job. If there is an error or something, the blast radius would be confined to that component. And then easily I can see where are my single points of failure. And DB could be a single point of failure, or cache could be a single point of failure. So these all things I can like highlight really quick if I'm doing this. Coming back to your design, I think you covered everything. Only thing is, I think as soon as quick you can move. I think even if I am doing for the first time, I would take some time. But I'm just telling in that way that when you as quick as you tell, okay, this is my contract, and as quick as you can move to like high level diagram, it will help you, and then it will also can stop interviewer asking more questions. The interviewer will think, okay, now these components are there, some responsibilities there, and then probe in different direction rather than probing all things at the same time.
Good.
So that was kind of my feedback, and I think you did a pretty decent job. Only thing is how we can take this to the next level.
Yes, thanks, Asim.
Dippy, one question. So when you're teaching concurrency, what was your expectation from Amrit?
Well, I actually didn't want to really go deep dive into concurrency, but I did want to pick his thoughts on, some initial ideas about, like he talked about, he was able to at least speak up when I, probed him on that, like concurrent request. He was able to pick up an idea of locking and tell me some points about where would be the problem. And one thing, but I didn't want to go deep dive into it. But one thing that I kind of overall throughout the interview, I found positive about his approach is every time I asked a question or I was trying to steer him to a certain direction, I think he was pretty quick in picking up the ideas, and then following that, sharing his approach there. So that I think overall is also a very good sign for a candidate, because if we are into a discussion and if the interviewer is trying to, point you to some particular action, then how quickly do you grasp that?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of practically, otherwise it's almost like reading your interviewer's mind, which,
yeah, generally like
if you get lucky, you can pick all the right ideas and your interview will be awesome. And if you don't, then you may be even, critiqued for the point, hey, you didn't touch this concept or that concept. But yeah, that's my personal.
So I think you were focusing on breadth, like more than depth.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on breadth, and I wanted to kind of him to think about, you talked about one service, you talked about components, that's great. Now, how do you make it distributed? What are the challenges there? I wanted to gauge his understanding of, this consistency and availability ideas. So that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I mean, I was also going with, like he was pretty upfront in the beginning, his experience with system design, right? So I think that is also something to keep in mind.
So, DP, just one question, because every interviewer could have their own goals when they are interviewing. But as part of when you started this interview, did you have a goal that I want to see end-to-end design working?
I did in some ways, and you might say that given this point of visualization, right? Relatively lack of visualization, you may say, oh, maybe we didn't cover that. But I think that's where like the breadth first approach, Amrit did cover most of the aspects of end to end. So yeah.
I was just wondering, and I think it could be a general question for the audience also, who takes interviews. So it could be like as an interview, I should insist at some point, hey, let me let me show you end-to-end flow, or interviewer can ask like, hey, let's now jump on to the end-to-end flow. So trying to see if there is no end-to-end flow, would that go against in the interview or
I
not?
think, I mean, just to give initial thought, but others please feel free to chime in. But I think Amrit was, let's say when he started breaking down generate OTP and stuff, was the point where he was like, okay, let me talk about the algorithm, to generate the code. And I was like, let's park that for now. We don't want to go there. So let's continue with, let's say we already have that. So I think in general, based on the way our communication was going, the way I saw that, he was kind of following a model, but as and when I was trying to steer him, to a different direction, we did change paths. But yeah, open to others. Like, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I can comment on that. In general, right, there is no hard and fast rule that you expect in a candidate as an interviewer. Probably you want to put him into some challenges situation. That's what I do in general. You want to put him in challenge how the person reacts.
Right.
And then is he able to come out of those challenges? Sometimes you may want to push a candidate into one particular component only and not see end to end. Maybe see end to end superficially. And it is always fine. How interviewer in 1 hour you cannot judge total skills of an individual. You probably want to see how that individual is reacting to a given situation. The situation may be very small, situation may be very big, how the reaction is. And it also definitely depends on the response, from which level you're hiring or which level the candidate is going to. And the same, maybe exactly the same OTP question that DP asked me, you may ask it to everybody, from SE1, 2, 3 or so. And the expectation is the kind of response you get. And the kind of reaction that you get from an individual. And I see, like, from where Amrut is, from my feeling, like he did more than what I would have expected from that, candidate.
Agree with Hitesh.
Thanks, Hitesh.
So Amrit, what is your take on like where we all shared our feedback? Like, do you have some thoughts on
I think I did an average sort of job with this design. Like I didn't do too good, or I don't think it's too bad. Like not sure. Like you are the ones to comment on that. But yes, given that it's my first experience, it's not my first. It's my second experience. But yes, I got good inputs that I can work on. Yes, and from the points that you're trying to probe, right? Concurrency and stuff, my understanding is not very much in depth. Like you spoke about the last right algorithms. So I'm not familiar with those. My experience with concurrency is to like in the minimum level where I can write code that is thread safe in a language. That's the level of skill I have.
That's fine, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Because if I also, I'll let you complete.
Yes, from that perspective, yes, I know there's a lot more factors to learn in that side. Yes, and from a database perspective, that also was interesting. So, I think it makes sense to see how the actual I know there are algorithms that elect leaders and stuff for
Yeah.
these kind of architectures where replications happen. But yeah, it actually makes sense to go into that as well.
On that point, I would give an advertisement for a book club. So we are running a book club where we actually covered all these things like leaderless replication and this concurrent writes approach. So if anyone is interested, feel free to check out our video.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Join us.
Yep.
Great. So one thing I would say is also about, let's say, so I am, if somebody asks me all these, streaming services, let's say Netflix and, all these design questions, I feel it also going back to what Hitesh said, right? What is your area, right? I can't just ask anybody any design question and expect the same level of, kind of depth there. If I'm not somebody who is good in networking, or if that's not my area, then it's hard for me to come up with those, ideas. So it goes back to, interviewer being aware of your background and what are your strengths, and then also keeping that in mind, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, but from learning perspective, sure, you can go into, learning all these fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Anything else, anyone?
Any other feedback from anyone? If not, like we can stop recording and plan for upcoming sessions. Okay, thank you. Thank you everyone. And thank you Amrut. Thank you DP. Stop recording.